Hey, it's Joe at Red's Fly Shop here. This is going to be a two-part review with some lessons on setting up a Euro leader. So the two products I'm going to integrate into this video are going to be the RIO Mono Technical Euro Nymphing line. So this was kind of the last line in the past several years to come out for Euro nymphing. It's not brand new, but it's going to be new to me. I've heard such great things about how easy it is to handle and how sensitive it is, and really is a nice way to soup up your existing Euro rod. But lucky for me, I don't have a new Euro rod. What kind of do? I've got a 10-foot 9-inch 2-weight TNT in their Contact 2, which is our best-selling Euro rod because they're awesome, but the 10-foot 9-inch 2-weight is new, so I couldn't help but get one of those, especially for these fall water conditions, which are going to be lower and clear and a little bit more technical in the fall and early winter. So I thought, what better way to get adjusted to my new rod is soup it up with this new line. What we're going to do with the line, though, this is going to freak a lot of people out. It does not come with any loops on it. So we're going to talk about knots and how to set this thing up a little bit. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to connect this new line to your backing. All right, first thing, don't get the two ends mixed up. This thick part is going to your backing right here, just that standard yellow. This is actually kind of somewhat of a pseudo cider material. Looks kind of cool, looks nice, like it's nice stiff monofilament. That's going to the other end. Don't get them mixed up. I'm gonna tie an Albright knot from my backing to this fly line. Now don't freak out when I tell you gotta tie an Albright knot. Just take your time at home when you're setting this up. It's a nice, clean little knot. I'm gonna tie the Albright knot and then we'll jump ahead and I'll show you what it looks like. You can do a nail knot as well, but the Albright is a little bit more trustworthy, especially for a monofilament core line like this. So I'm gonna go ahead and start the Albright knot. There are many videos on how to tie an Albright knot, so this is not necessarily meant to teach you how to do it, but I just wanna show you that you don't need a tool to do this. You can do it just with your hands, no tool required, and it's better than a nail knot for this situation. So I'm gonna finish it off here. My backing, because some of it's hanging in the water, is hanging at kind of an awkward angle. Get that all set up. I'm gonna pull that end down, and then I'm gonna grab my tag on the fly line end, suck that down, suck that back down, and then I'm gonna suck that down, and I'm gonna pull it all together. I'll wet the knot a little bit, and the effect is just a nice, strong connection that's very compact. I don't have any clunky knots here. I'm gonna go ahead and cut that little piece of backing off, and I'm gonna cut that tag of the fly line off. I'm going to keep that. That's just big enough. That's measured as micro trash there. So there it is. In however many seconds that was, got an Albright knot, fly line to backing complete. All right, so the cameraman just referred to this as the bee's knees. This line is so cool. So most people hate knots, and this is an integrated mono line. So this yellow coating is over the top of monofilament, making the line really stiff so you can reach out for longer drifts and longer control. And then it integrates right into this piece of monofilament that's a nice reddish color that I can see. Oh, I'm sure the diagram has it, but I'm guessing it's about 20 feet. So essentially I'm now fishing a mono rig, and so I've got monofilament. That's all I'm handling and casting, which is the most sensitive. It's the lightest. I can feel the strikes the best. I get less wind push on my line, etc. And I've got no knot that can run through my guides, okay? So that's a really big deal, especially for a lot of folks that aren't good at tying real compact knots and letting that mono slide through their guides. This is a game changer just for ease of setup. What I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna show you how I'm gonna set this up with cider material right on the end of this, and it's gonna be an easy series of knots, and I'll show you my whole leader build from the end of your mono line down. So this is the second of my double uni knots. Those are just gonna slide down into one another, and I'll show you what I've got here so far. So I did a double uni knot. If you don't know how to do that, you can look it up. There's lots of videos on it, or you can do a blood knot from the original mono down to 1X cider material, and then I transitioned again. That was the knot you just saw, into 3X cider material. I like to trim those down just a little bit, and I can take and do an overhand knot with that extra tag right here and get it to stick out 90 degrees. like that right there. So both those tags are antennas. I can read what they're doing. I can use it to measure into the water. I prefer my last piece of cider material to be a little thinner. That way, in the event I do want to dip my cider down in the river, I can do that. But I don't want my cider incredibly long because it's not as stiff. So I'm going to keep my cider at just over 2 feet. I'll pocket that longer piece. And then what I'm going to do is at the end of this, you don't have to use a tippet ring, but I'm going to go ahead and tie a tippet ring right to the end, and I'll show you what that looks like after I get it off the swivel and tied on there. All right, the cider portion's done. I tied on a 2mm tippet ring. They're nice to have. That's 3X cider material, and I left a long tag there because I really like seeing where the end of my cider is. That helps my eye pick it up, and I can see what my drift's doing a little bit quicker. It's 3X from here to here. That's maybe 14 inches. A couple of tags on there so I can see behavior. If it's windy, I might trim those down a little bit, but they're nice and easy to see. And then I've got that original double uni from the thick 1X, which is nice and easy to see, nice and bright, back up to the original mono. The next thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and build out my most common leader system if I were just starting fresh at the beginning of a fishing day, and I'll show you what that looks like. Well, here's my leader system that I'm starting with today. That is my anchor fly. That's called a Point Drake. I love that anchor fly, nice big bead, gets me down there on the bottom. And I've got it tied on a loop knot on 4X fluorocarbon. Now this setup may look a little tricky. If you want to know more about how to do this, look at one of the videos I recently did about how to tie up double nymph rigs. But I've been running this system a lot. I've got a non-slip mono loop there to a Rosa's mouse jig nymph. And it tends to move and wiggle and still gets action like you can see there, but it doesn't tangle. So I essentially just did a non-slip mono loop, left the tag long, and you can tie that to right there. And if you want to go even more simple on your first setup, you can just tie a clinch knot, leave it long, and tie it there if you're kind of newer to fly fishing and knots are a little bit mysterious to you. So I've got about 4.5 feet of tippet. That's usually about where I start for most of my fishing, and then I could adjust. If you ever need longer tippet, one little hack is rather than mess around with the fly end, you can always cut it off on the tippet ring, add the tippet there, and then tie it back on. Maybe I'm in a deep pool and I really want 6 or 7 feet of tippet. That's a great way to lengthen on the back end. But I've got my cider. I already outlined how that looks for you. And then here I've got about 20 feet of mono. So I've got a pure mono rig, lots of sensitivity. I'm gonna go work the rod and the line for a few drifts, see if I can't catch a fish out here in the riffle. But either way, I'll give you some feedback on the rod, which I'm not gonna lie, I've actually fished the rod quite a bit before this review. I couldn't help it, but I wanted to upgrade the line. And then I'll talk a little bit about the rod and the line combination. This line's a game changer. Did you guys embarrass Shane catching so many fish? So in regards to the rod, the 10-foot 9-inch two-way TNTs, absolutely awesome. I have fished the 10-9-3, which in Thomas terms, that's a 10-foot 9-inch three-way, and the 10-foot two-way a lot, which I love. The biggest difference here is if you're going to throw large stoneflies, and I fished this rod quite a bit before today with the Scientific Anglers Competition Series line on it, but if you're going to use this rod for really big stonefly nymphs and Euro jig streamers and crayfish and TJ hooker type flies, the 2/8 doesn't pull the fly along the bottom quite as well because the tip isn't quite as strong as the number 3. So if that's your game, stick with that 10-9 3/weight. But for flies, if you really want good reach and sensitivity, for flies this size, maybe a little bit bigger, traditional Perdigons and Euroflies, the sensitivity of the 10-9-2 is just absolutely outstanding. And for a big river like this, it gives me a little bit more reach than the 10-foot 2/8. So this has become really my new favorite Euro rod. And I've got lots of Euro rods. Everything we sell here at Reds is good, but the Thomas & Thomas gets the nod most of the time. Regarding the line, great sensitivity, easy to shoot, monofilament rig without any knots or anything like that. That's smooth. As you can tell, it's super windy today. And one thing I really noticed versus my other lines is this being just a little bit thinner. I don't normally fish mono rigs, so the mono rig just being thinner really handled the wind a lot better than when I fish with my traditional, like a Euro line, like that SA comp line. When I fish with that out the rod tip, it catches a lot more wind with a lot more sag. So yeah, great setup, great all the way around. I hope the setup tips on the backing and the sider are helpful for you guys. As always, like and subscribe video. Go ahead and comment below if you have questions, and I'll try to get back to you as soon as I can.